Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at Litecoin. And just before we do, we usually look at Bitcoin, but I can summarize it really quick here for you. We're essentially right at about 66,000, trying to break through that resistance, but we got to wait for the one-day candlestick to close. My guess is the price will dip down to 65,000 first and then break the upside for new all-time highs, and we'll see some pretty awesome stuff happening very soon. Now, just before that, though, I do want to let you know I am not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research, but note that I've been trading for a very long time, over 15 years, and my goal is to help you become a better trader, right? I love helping people trade and become just better financially. That's just the bottom line. So I developed a trading community / signal group where I share every single signal that I take, or trade that I take rather, through a signal. You can one-click follow through a trading bot if you want. Otherwise, just learn as much as you can. It's a really awesome experience. Check that out, of course, though, because there are limited spots available. And the month end, we're going to increase the price, of course, just based on demand. And it would be recommended for you to lock in your rate before then. Now, taking a look here at Litecoin. So one-day chart, pretty awesome stuff here. Also good. We can see a pretty significant increase in the last 24 hours. So take a look at that here, right at around 10, 11% for Litecoin here today. Now, one thing to note, we got the moving averages here. They are both moving very well just below the price action. We actually have a potential golden cross here that's going to occur. Could continue to push the price up as well. It's an interesting phenomenon, the way that it works, but it's essentially just the 50 intersecting with a 200 in an upward fashion, very similar to a MACD convergence. Speaking of MACD convergence, let's see if we got one here. We had a bounce, but it's pretty much the same thing. In other words, the 12 intersected with a 26 in an upward fashion, causing that to increase, giving us a buy signal to go long, right? So that's usually what you want to look for. But ultimately, that's a great sign. We also have RSI up over 50 and under 70. All good things for the one-day chart. Basically just means that we have potential for the price to continue well into the next few days without any potential of retracement, based on the simple fact that it is just kind of getting started. Now we'll take a look here actually really quick, because TD sequential does tell us that we're at a 6. We've got roughly 12 hours left of bullish momentum before we could see a consolidation state or a retracement. It may not retrace significantly. I do think Litecoin is going to continue to stay higher. I don't feel as if it's going to retrace, but if we can't get enough gas in the tank to get past 232, the previous resistance, then we might see it consolidate kind of right around this range here, somewhere like that. It could even come down and bounce eventually, but the bottom line here is that it's got very good bullish qualities right now, and we're definitely looking good for Litecoin. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at with the 4-hour chart. And we can see we did have a MACD convergence as well on November 7th at 5 a.m. Let's go ahead and mark that for us here. And we'll take a look at the 1-hour chart and kind of see where the Ichimoku cloud is lining up. Look at that, perfect convergence on the MACD and a 1-hour crossover. So if you're new to just say the Ichimoku cloud, you type in Ichimoku. It's kind of a funny word at first, but really cool indicator. And what you do is you just disable these first 5 options, right? Just to keep it simple, keep it a little cleaner, if you will. Those are still relevant. You want to do your own research and find out what those mean. They still give us good buy signals and sell signals, but the bottom line is that with the MACD convergence on the 4-hour chart telling us we have a buy signal to go long, that's what I marked right here, okay? Now that's a great sign. That's like the step number 1 in the right direction for taking a long position. When it comes to this scenario here, though, when the price is above the cloud, that's considered a buy signal too. All of my members here know that, right? But if you're new to the channel, for example, and you're not part of my trading community, then just note that the price above the cloud is buy signal. When it's below, it's considered a sell signal. That's just kind of the simple way to understand it. And right now, we have a nice buy signal here. So we got that double rainbow that I refer to it as, where you got these 2 awesome things working concurrently. And then what do you know? The price continues upwards. Granted, it helps that Bitcoin is doing well, right? That's why we usually like to understand what Bitcoin does first, because Bitcoin is performing similar to Litecoin right here, except for the fact that Litecoin's a bit delayed in that sense, where we saw the increase from Bitcoin yesterday, whereas we see the increase now today with Litecoin. It's a pretty common characteristic for Litecoin because it is fairly synonymous with Bitcoin. That said, though, cloud is looking great. Let's see what TD sequential tells us. We're at a 4 here because we had a decent enough period of consolidation before the next leg up. So you see how it comes up to a 9 and then goes sideways. It actually consolidates here and then ramps up. That's a fantastic scenario. That basically means that this is a healthy bull run and that it had enough time to consolidate. So if all goes well in the next, just say 5 hours, after this is continued up, or just say it continues sideways for 5 hours, that'd be optimal, right? We want some consolidation soon because, again, we still have plenty of time left before this has to retrace or become corrected. but something will happen. It'll either come up here and it'll kind of just stay below the resistance level. It could even break above the resistance and kind of work as a consolidation right there. And then the other alternative, of course, would be for the price to kind of fizzle out a little bit, consolidate, and then make a second ramp up, another leg up to break that resistance. Okay. And by the way, the resistance I'm referring to is the recent high, right? It's definitely not the all-time high, because big picture, we got right around 389 as a potential for the the highest point in which the resistance level was at, right? In fact, why don't we do this here? Let's move this guy here, right there, because we got a nice resistance channel. So this is the resistance channel for Litecoin, right? So it's going to be 389 upwards of about 415. So 390 to 415 is the resistance channel. I think we're going to be there eventually, but not just yet. However, that being said, with the price kind of ramping up here today, this more recent high of 233 is a resistance that we got to get through first, okay? So that's kind of just where that number comes from. Now, moving forward to the 1 hour chart, let's take a quick look at this. In fact, let's go with the 4 hour instead. And we're just going to take a quick look at Fibonacci retracement and kind of see where we have to go. Now, by the way, when you have a really large wick like this, it's best to just avoid that when you use the Fibonacci retracement, just to ensure you're not getting like the because that's like a standard deviation, so to speak. It went outside of those lines, so we don't really count that. So we just find the lowest, most comfortable spot, and at this point here, we can see obviously that the price is kind of working within channels, right? So you got this obvious resistance here, we got an obvious support level there. So simply put, now that this has broken that resistance, this would be a pretty strong setup. So for lack of better terms, 207 is a nice strong support if the price were to retrace back down. Secondary support, or more, I guess you could say more primary, is 215, but I think the likelihood of it coming back down to here would be more accurate if it were to lose, and kind of start retracing back down. And then why don't we go ahead and mark a couple of other things here as well. 226. And then let's look at the big picture too. Here's what's kind of a better case scenario, right? Because if we look at this amount of growth here, right? This amount of growth, how much time did that take? So if we look at October 27th, we could round up in what? Say that's 2 weeks away, 2 weeks ago? I think it's a little under, but just say it took 2 weeks, for example, to make this kind of progress. It went from 178 to where it's at right now, about 226. So that amount of increase, if we were to kind of essentially just duplicate that, then we would be looking at somewhere in the range of about, just say 228. Correction, I misspoke. $288 as a potential within the next 2 weeks, right? In other words, it could definitely go past that. It could definitely not get there. But I would say loosely within 2 weeks here, because it took that much time to get this much progress, we could see somewhere upwards of about 288 in the next 2 weeks. So I would say loosely by month end, we're looking at 288, maybe 300 is a realistic probability. But year end, my personal opinion, just based on the fact that this is very synonymous with Bitcoin and how well Bitcoin is slated to perform, we're looking at a pretty strong possibility of breaking its all-time high. That's just my personal opinion. I'm fairly bullish on Litecoin, always have been. I know it's a slow grower, but it has a tendency of doing very well when Bitcoin does well, okay? And Bitcoin is likely to do very well, and it actually takes a little while to catch up with Bitcoin too. So if Bitcoin just say jumps up to 70,000, we break 70,000, for example, then we can see Litecoin shoot upwards of, I would say, 300 to 350, and then Bitcoin starts trending closer to 6 figures. I would say that it's going to be easy to see 390 to 420 from Litecoin. Okay, so that's just kind of big picture. More immediate, I would say short term, 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks for 288, and then I'd say year end or early next for 400 plus. That's just, I think that's just realistic and easy. So don't be afraid to, add to your position right now. I think the likelihood of I would say 2xing from the current point is likely by the time this cycle comes to fruition. Okay. All right, so hopefully you found benefit here today. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Hopefully you learned something too. Let me know if you did. If you've been in Litecoin for a long time, comment below, of course. And if you're not already a patron, feel free to join my community and see if you can learn and grow as a better, more profitable trader. Everyone's having a great experience. Feel free to ask me or anyone else in the community, and we'll be happy to share that with you. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing the next one. Take care.